ಲೆಜೆಂಡ್ಸೇ ಕೂತಿದ್ದೀರಾ. ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲೇ ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಡೋದಾ ಫುಲ್ಲು? So, how are you all? All good. So good to see all of you again. No, I'm good. Like it's kind of homecoming here. So I'm not going to talk anything about myself or what I've been doing, right? So the session is about how to go about for UPSC interview preparation. So we'll largely focus on that rather than focusing on other unrelated issues here, right? So it's been like how many days? 40 days since you wrote your mains examination. 40 days. So what have been doing like? ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ? Getting fit. Good. That's actually good. Other than that? Remaining? What syllabus? Oh, good. Keep it up. Then newspapers. Good. So those who have given the interview, Nagendra, what are you doing? Newspapers. Constituency calls. I rarely get calls from students nowadays. So ma'am, you are from Bangalore, ನಿಮ್ಮ ಹೆಸರು? Good. Yes. So last year I conducted mock interviews for nearly 650 candidates, like one-on-one mock interviews. So every year the more interviews I have conducted, I have learnt more about this whole interview process, right? The thing is there are certain underlying factors which will never change when it comes to expectations from the interview panel, right? And there are few things that are dynamic in nature, right? So we have to understand the nature of the institution that is going to conduct your interview and the way it functions, the circumstances it functions under, right? So that also you should keep in your mind, right? So you should not be indifferent or oblivious. What is the meaning of oblivious? What? Nirbandhana? No. The meaning of oblivious is indifferent, again, ignorant. You should not be oblivious to the fact that UPSC, though being constitutional body, right, the people there are finally appointed by the people who are in power, and the people who are in power have certain authority to decide whom to put there. They have certain discretion, right? So no institution is immune from any kind of prejudices, right? Any kind of biases. So that what I have learnt is that many people are ignorant about this particular fact, because you prepare in certain way when it comes to this examination. You know, you have certain textbooks, notes, certain institutions, and also newspapers. So you keep reading them, and you are so much involved in this process. What we usually do is that we don't think about the institution itself, right? So I want you to think about it, but you should never be scared about it, right? You have to be smart about it. Smart in a way that, you know, you should know how to frame your answers, how to, before framing your answer, how to prepare for it, right? So few lessons that I learnt in this whole mock interview process. So though I conducted 650 mock interviews, I am not in control of the outcome, right? I am not in control. So what basically I was doing was giving you practice, right? Giving you certain exposure in terms of nature of questions that you wanted to, get, nature of challenging questions that you wanted to get so that you could force yourself to think and come up with certain responses. So, but that whole process actually depends on your ability to think itself. Your ability to think depends on your preparedness, the way you have undergone, this preparation, the way you have, the kind of sources that you are prepared from, the kind of environment that you have grown up or you are growing up right now involved in, right? The kind of discussions, debates you keep doing on a daily basis, right? Also, whether you think on daily basis or not, like we don't think actually, like you think about it. So we think, but we think largely about our own issues rather than the issues concerning about country or anything like about society, culture, environment, politics, economy. So we don't think, even if we think, the thinking is mostly superficial. It is largely dictated by what the majority of the people are thinking rather than am I thinking in an individualistic way. What we think is that what the newspaper is feeding us or what the group you are discussing with, right? So what is the majority opinion in that group? So we don't dwell deep into the issue itself, trying to learn more dimensions of it, right? So we don't actually do it. Even if we do it, again, when it comes to discussion, so we end up giving largely the popular opinion, right? Popular opinion is something that everyone knows about. So which I call it as obvious answer, right? So that is the biggest turn off when it comes to interviews. The obvious answer. So that doesn't allow me to further probe you because I know that you don't have anything new to offer, right? When you keep saying the obvious. So when I say you keep saying the obvious, that is the same answer given by the previous candidate as well and another candidate in another day, right? So then it becomes uninteresting, right? So the lesson I have learnt, one lesson is that the candidate who has depth as well as diversity in their answers is the one who is in control of the interview, right? It is not me. So that is the person who is in the control of the interview. And such candidates, when they appear, when they come and give mock interviews, so it compels me to tell them that obviously you are going to score better marks. So the good marks which have come up is not because of me or because of any institution. So let me very clearly say that it is because of the candidates themselves. Maybe I would have fine-tuned, would have told them, certain answers should be in this way rather than, being too critical, being too, progressive in nature, being too rational in nature, right? So this is going back to the point one I was mentioning, which I cannot explicitly talk about. You are getting it, right, all of you? Right, good. So be attentive, be attentive here. And when it comes to depth and diversity, now like day before yesterday, I was speaking, to one or two candidates. So they keep saying, now I am reading two newspapers, right, for interview, one Indian Express and one The Hindu, right, which is very good. Right? You should definitely read. But when it comes to this phase of UPSC civil service preparation, so my suggestion is that, you need to go beyond these two papers. In addition to these two papers, right? So one compulsorily any business newspaper, it can be Live Mint, Business Standard or Economic Times. Second one, from the web, any international newspaper. It can be New York Times or it can be Economist, it can be Guardian, right? There is another like project syndicate. You might have come across project syndicate. So you buy subscription for 2 to 3 months, right? And usually they give 1 month free trial, all these. So from your account you buy 1 month free trial. After that, that's what I meant by you have to be smart, right? So you don't have to spend money here. And the economist PDFs are available everywhere if you know where to search. Audiobooks are also available. For example, you know this Israel and Gaza conflict, right? So you keep reading the Hindu and maybe Indian Express, and most of the times the columns written in these papers are by one or two same individuals, right? And you have to go one step ahead and try to see from where these columnists must be learning about this issue itself to write their own column, right? If Raja Mohan is writing about Israel conflict, Raja Mohan, right? His name? C. Raja Mohan. So from where is he referring? Right? So he's not just writing just like, you know, he may know lots about the issue, but he must be learning it from, you know, certain sources, maybe research articles or international journals, right? And I am sure these people will know that largely Indians, I mean, the general public will not be reading all these international publications. We never know. I mean, I'm not talking about Raja Mohan, but at least in regional newspaper, we see that. What appears in the Hindu or what appears in international, they copy those ideas, opinions, and they write it for regional audience, right? So you have to be slightly more ambitious and more, you know, you have to travel a little extra mile here. The reason is that the people who are interviewing are people like Raja Mohan, right? They would have written columns to the newspapers, and in their tenure as IAS, IPS, IFS, and other services officers, in the course of 30 to 40 years, they have interacted, they have met, they have got so much exposure, and they have developed their own interests and hobbies, something to do with more, something to do be more intellectual, right? So that thing we forget, you know, we are in our zone, and we on a various degrees. That I have noticed. The second lesson I can see is that one individual thinks that what he has learned is the best he is offering, right? So he is again he because of lack of interaction with the more learned people within the maybe UPSC circle or beyond UPSC circle, he or she thinks that the answer he or she is giving is the best. But when I'm interviewing one person here in Bangalore and then going to Delhi and interviewing maybe somebody from, let us say, who has done masters in Delhi School of Economics, or so there were people who came from London School of Economics also, right? And like some from Stephens College, right? The kind of exposure they had got and they have got or they are getting right now is totally different and at higher level compared to what one may be getting in colleges in Bangalore or right anywhere in Karnataka or some other parts of India as well. So then the person who is learning here may be the best in his or own institution here, right? When you compare with somebody who has learnt even more better, got more exposure and is well read. Some people go beyond their academics and have developed these hobbies of reading and writing. So then the answer is totally different, and that is when I means me and anybody who is interviewing and who has good insights about to know. So then I accurately predict what is going to be your marks, right? So I know like this is 200 plus performance one candidate, and then the same question, what answer he or she has given and what answer you are going to give here. So when I know the difference, I can easily grade. Okay, you are at 160s, 170s, right? So from here to there, how to jump? The biggest challenge for you people is that whatever you haven't learned in last 10, 15 years, right? You have to plug the gap in 30, 40 days here, right? 50, 60 days. It's about personality test, right? There are certain personality traits inherent, integral to every one of you, but the gap fortunately can be filled if you avoid certain mistakes, right? Again, the few I mentioned. So you have to go extra step, day in and out, develop the habit of reading and writing very strongly, right? So there are, like, as we all know, there are different kinds of thinking, right? One is like creative thinking, everyone knows about it. Critical thinking, we know we know about it. And then analytical thinking, right? And then there is this lateral thinking, right? So creative thinking in Kannada we say, Srujanatmaka Yochane. I mean, thinking out of the box, creative, right? So you are able to come up with more creative answer that is more unique to you using your own creativity. So critical thinking, what is critical thinking? Vimarshatmaka Yochane. What is critical thinking? Hmm? Hmm. What is the difference between analytical thinking and critical thinking? Hmm. Good, good. So analytical thinking is vishleshana, So you are basically analyzing in depth. So you are looking at the every dimension of the issue. You are going to the root level and trying to understand the issue from various dimensions. So you are examining it, deeply and giving the answer maybe in 30, 40 seconds. So that ability. If it is writing, then you are writing. More of essay writing is more about combination of these two, right? So critical thinking is having your own opinion on the issue as well, right? So opinion, whether about the consequences of the particular issue, right? Have you developed your own original opinion on the particular issue, that the critical vimarshatmaka. So basically you are looking from your own point of view rather than getting influenced by the others' points of view. You are developing your own point of view on that particular issue, right? So lateral thinking is paryaya. So that is more of, so when it comes to decision making, but in interview it is not that much useful, right? So let us stick to these three. So this, to develop this kind of thinking, what I noticed is that writing and debating, right? Mere reading and making notes will never help you. This is one mistake most people commit. They read, they make notes, they have content for each and every question, you have framed questions, but somewhere you stay away, right? You refrain from more of writing and more of debating. Again, try to debate these kind of issues with people who are better than you, right? So psychologically, we try to have a group where we try to dominate, right? The other members. So we want to come across as more learned and try to dominate the discourse or debate. So that is one mistake you should avoid. Always stay like as if you know nothing. Keep learning, but keep asking more questions rather than answering more questions. Right? So keep learning from everyone. If you have to learn from, you can learn from everyone, but you can learn more from the people who knows more. Right? Don't get intimidated when someone in your group or when someone you meet knows more than you. Right? So it, as well as giving you knowledge, it will teach you humility also. Right? And humility is very much important in UPSC interview. Humility, vinayate, right? So that is very much important. And obviously, like 99% of people become humble when they see the UPSC and the panel. It doesn't matter how much arrogant they have been. It humbles you, right? The UPSC experience. So it's not a major issue. Now coming to this writing part, I keep telling this to everyone. Whoever comes in contact with me regarding interview preparation, writing you have to develop on a daily basis as if it is kind of everyday integral activity of yours, right? So I scored 210, when there was no interview guidance, when there were no mock interviews, I solely attribute it to the hobby of writing, right? So in a village, I had a blog, before Insights on India, it was my personal blog. So I used to write like extremely also about all the issues, and uh, I always used to be little ambitious in my thinking, right? Then I would go once in a while to Mysore and buy EPW magazines, right? Go back to my village and read EPW magazines. 2006, 7, 8, 9. Nobody had ever recommended EPW. So I just read their articles and it was difficult to read and I assumed it is the best, right? So I thought, and then of course I read the reviews also, right? Because the people who were writing those articles were the best in their own fields. You might have come across EPW magazine, right? So when I went to mock interview, I took all the collections of EPW magazines. So all the people who had come for interview, in Karnataka Bhavan, they were like, okay, so what is this magazine? Except one or two people. So most of the people didn't know about this magazine, right? So there I shared these magazines. I just opened and showed. See at that time the opinion in EPW was very much valued. So during the UPA time, right? So till 2014, till 2014, right? Yeah. So you could say anything in interview. I mean, anything intellectual without getting scared about anyone there. So the opinions which were there in EPW were the opinions I was trying to give. It was written by scholars in their own fields, right? But even now you should read them, right? Maybe not to say it, right? But of course, I mean, see, one thing, another lesson last year I learned. This is a process which keeps enriching me. That fortunately, in some cases, they tested conviction of the aspirant, right? Clarity and conviction rather than the nature of the opinion. So please remember this, right? So don't believe in everything I say, but this particular thing you may believe. So they tested the conviction in your answer. So rather than the nature of the opinion, like your opinion could be against the government, against the larger opinion, you are even against the court also. But were you able to defend your opinion with logical arguments for the follow up or counter questions, right? Again, without getting nervous, without, so when you, that is where the depth comes into picture, right? So since last year I learned that. I've been telling that it's not about the opinion, like hijab issue, what is your opinion, a CAA, your issue, your opinion, or even about this ongoing Israel conflict. So what are the questions that are coming into your mind regarding Israel conflict? Hmm? You might have thought about, you might have read about it, right? Some of the questions. Hmm? Okay. Is the act of Israel legitimate or good or in accordance with international laws or something? Maybe for a law student, PSI student, I can ask this question. Then, hmm? In the interview, this of course kind of a mains question. It's a legitimate question. How will it affect India's maybe economy, or what should be India's stance regarding how should India respond to this particular issue? Then, hmm? Yeah, yeah. There was something called dehyphenation. Okay, you people know it. So is there a change in India's stance? Okay, then yeah, you're very good. So okay, what do you think is the solution? So somebody might have put IFS as their first option. So I'll be more interested to know. So what do you think should be the solution to ongoing Israel-Palestine conflict? Hmm? Going back to history. Okay. Yeah, that question can be asked, right? Hmm. 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 Supporting Hamas. Okay. So it can be put as a case study, like they can directly ask you, like, so don't you see there is nothing wrong in the approach of Hamas, what it did to Israel or what it's doing to Israel? Hmm? Like where do you stand, like, when it comes to questions like that? Hmm? So what about the very existence of Hamas or its hmm, fight against Israel? Is it legitimate? Hmm? No. Why? When Israel is also doing the war. 3,500 small children are dead. No, before that also it has happened every day. There used to be killing. It is just the scale of it, right? So we start thinking about it when the scale is huge, right? And there is also always this ethical question, one versus more, right? So it is violence, right? So I asked you the question like why? I mean, the response should be more of based on concepts, right? So rather than reactionary, should be a response. So try to bring out the concepts you have learned maybe in political theory, right? Maybe in philosophy as well. Or is there any precedent? Is there any international law that supports your argument, right? So you have to recourse, to those kind of arguments. So that is what I meant. You should be in a position to defend your position based on the certain logical arguments. So that is when you keep giving me scope to probe you further, right? You quote an international law, right? And then you quote a historical incident also, right? Historical incident in support of your argument. So that also becomes another point for me to probe you further. So that is when you keep me engaged with that particular issue for some time, maybe 4 minutes, 5 minutes, beyond that. So the nature of interview should be like that. I should not feel short of questions, right? Ultimately, the source of my questions should be your responses. So you should be so educative, so informative, right? To some extent intellectual, not to like, I mean, don't be under the impression that every answer should be like this, right? So few of them, so that it gives me an indicate, it gives me certain hints to assess the depth of your personality, right? So here depth of personality, what I mean by depth of personality is that when you speak to certain people, you know that the way they communicate with you, right? So you will know that that person has gone through lots of experiences in their lives, right? Anybody who has gone through lots of experiences, when you speak to them, you know that they measure their words, right? Uh, you feel that, like, don't you feel that? I mean, when you talk to them, the things they say sound like wisdom rather than fact and examples. So So depth of personality, such kind of wisdom, you give it in a very humble way, confident way, and also in a non-intimidatory way. Non-intimidatory way is not as a show off, rather than as a contribution. You are trying to share what you know rather than making it one-way traffic, giving out, right? So that also unknowingly we try to do when we have learned something new, right? So we try to provide it as a new information to the audience. Are you getting this point? Sometimes in conversation, what we try to do is that, oh, something I know, new I learned it. So I'm giving it to you because I think that you don't know it, right? So this attitude will not be with those kind of learned people. They share it. So while sharing, there is a mentality of getting it back, from you, getting something back from you also. So how do you develop, Pantandre? I mean, these kind of more interactions, more discussions, and also writing. When you write to an audience, there. So I used to do it. Like when I used to, I actually followed it consistently. After writing something, I would always ask a question in the end. Even some of my tweets, nowadays I'm not tweeting. So whenever I used to tweet I would end with a question. What do you think about this? What is your opinion regarding this? This should not be done in interview, but in a day-to-day thing, so that there is no end to the learning, as well as it actually matures your personality. It keeps you level-minded, level-headed, right? So this is important because when the interview panel is testing you, asking you questions. So when they see that you are such kind of personality, right? So then, in addition to that, the nature of your answers, combining both, that gives a picture to them. Okay, tomorrow when you become an IAS officer, IPS, IFS officer, you know how to handle the situation, you know how to fit into the system, you know how to maneuver through the complex system of administration governance. So constantly there is a imagination running in the back of the head. So you have to keep fitting into that kind of imagination, and that imagination gives rise to their expectations. There are certain expectations. So in your answers, the moment you meet those expectations, not all the points, at least 1 or 2 points, right? So then the interview is done, right? So for that, without complicating anything, you have to go beyond the obvious, go beyond your comfort zone, and you have to learn as if there is no ending to it. But now there should be a starting point, right? In the DAF to what you are going to mention, right, becomes the starting point for my inquisition, or my probing of you and your preparation as well. The starting point for your preparation. So have you decided on your hobbies and interests? All of you finally decided? Are you pursuing them regularly? So how many of you have the hobby of writing here? Writing anything? Raise your hands. Like, okay. So what do you write about? So in your diary, journaling day-to-day experiences. Hmm. Hmm. Can you just give me example of the last write-up that you wrote? Hmm.
Simultaneously working in IT. Is doing it as a part-time teacher to an NGO,
Hmm.
which is completely free of cost.
So he's IT professional as well as he's teaching in a school.
Something it's
Hmm. Now what did you write about it?
what are his passions? He has money, but he's looking for something satisfaction beyond that.
Hmm.
So he says that when I meet some different kinds of people and looking at them, it's not I am helping them, they are helping me.
Hmm.
So I like this idea. When I after 1 month or 2 months when I go through this notes, it's like a different experience.
Okay. So what is your opinion on this?
It's like an hobby for him.
Hmm.
it's like an extracurricular activity. Some people have like watching movies. They find it's like in satisfaction. The finding some satisfaction in watching movies or watching sports. So they find satisfaction in it. It doesn't mean that he is not doing this watching cricket or watching movie. Means it's not against the societal rules. It's own because everyone has their own individual ideas. So we should respect it.
No. Okay. So you got the issue right here. So his friend is IT professional. He is teaching in an orphanage to kids, mostly for satisfaction. Secondly, to learn, not just to teach, but also learn from them. These are the two takeaways. Now, one of like some of you. So, what is your opinion on this? Like if you were to write something about it, what would you write about it? Like, would you extrapolate it to link it to some other issue? Would you generalize and try to be critical about it? Right?
There are non-monetary ways of finding self-sufficiency in life
Hmm.
and finding happiness. The other issue is there is still a need for people to step up to cater education needs of marginalized individuals, be it orphan or elderly. This needs to be addressed.
Hmm.
So that is the one area of plan.
Okay. Good.
There is also
Yes. Good. Good. Critical thinking. Right. So why is it that he's not deriving satisfaction from his own work currently as an IT professional? So he's looking beyond his work to derive satisfaction from somewhere. Then
there is judicious use of time.
Mhm.
It's managing to make time.
So there is a judicious use of time. Okay. Hmm.
Some people used to discuss about some people discuss
Hmm.
so even the mind has been working intersectionality of society
Hmm.
so it's all
It's just like fulfilling another need of his own mind. Okay. Not Bharat. Hmm? Why? Hmm. So why do we have orphanages in the very first place? Hmm? I mean, just let us go to the very basic of it, right? And you also have CSR and other things like keeping it, uh, like I have been traveling across the so-called my constituency everywhere. So one thing I notice is the pathetic state of education, right? So it is so disturbing actually. It is not education at all. What the rural students are getting in their own towns and in their own hobli and villages, it is not at all education. So now most of the backward villages and all the backward people, so they have sold this idea that having a degree gives you certain social status, right? So most of the people go to colleges to pursue, not to pursue education, to get a degree. Like a youth, a boy who is living in a village. So he says, I'm a graduate. The people who are dropped out after 10th and after 12th. So his status compared to them is slightly higher in a village. So the boys who comes in groups, when I ask who is a graduate, everyone points to like he's a graduate, right? And he feels very proud, I am a graduate. So then I ask him, what are you doing with your degree now, right? what are you doing after graduation? So the graduation has never prepared them for anything in their life, right? It won't give them job, right? It hasn't prepared them to face the uncertainty in their lives. It hasn't given them any skills that so that they can use that skill to start a new path in their life. There are no skills attached to it, right? And the knowledge that they have gained, so is very superficial, right? Because the kind of teachers who give them that knowledge, they also possess superficial knowledge. The training is lacking, the exposure to these teachers is lacking, the sources they refer mostly are not even second grade, they take competitive exam magazines and this and that, they teach to students, right? And knowledge has no use at all, right? And I keep thinking about it. Okay, now we are giving this kind of education and we rename it as NEP and we just give option to skip from one course to another course and do something, right? Without changing the fundamentals, without changing the very foundation of it, right? And then after 10 years, after 15 years, what do these people will do when the world has moved? All of the revolutionary things that are taking place because of artificial intelligence, right? In the field of education and everywhere, right? So I keep telling them that there is going to be a new kind of slavery in future, right? And the product of all this kind of education that we are providing them, right? It is going to create a new kind of slavery in the future. No skills, no knowledge, right? Don't know how to navigate through this world, and agriculture becoming more and more victim to all this climate change. And yesterday rainfall, till yesterday people were saying there was no rain and our crops are destroyed, and people for whom there were crops and they got destroyed because of the, right? I mean, it is so uncertain that these people don't know what to do. So there are more and more people, what they're doing, they are entering two realms, one religion and one politics, right? And that is the ultimate refuge, right? Ultimate resort. So where they are resorting into these two areas and wasting their lives. So religion, they spend anything to celebrate a fair or some ritual or festival or something. They go to any extent. They go to anyone, they will seek money from anyone they come in contact. They force people to give money, they want to celebrate. Now we are pushing people to celebrations. I mean, they think that it will bring rain, it will give them satisfaction, like 1 day, 2 day, 3 days. After that again they are the mercy of the government, right? Mercy of people who have more money. And inequality, the way it is getting concentrated. Power, right? Money, and the third one, opportunities. So earlier power and money used to get concentrated within few hands. Now opportunities are totally controlled by very few people in every district, right? I mean, when I say opportunity, they won't give opportunity to other people who are othered by so many of these kind of education and other things, right? And also discrimination, caste and religious discrimination. And within democracy, we have created a system, invisible system, right? It is felt by everyone, but we don't know the system actually exists. So there is a necessity to decentralize. There is a necessity to break the system, invisible system. First, we have to make it visible. It is invisible because the very people who control these things are in power, right? And they roam everywhere, and they also fight for social justice, right? Can you imagine? I mean, I'm sure you are able to. imagine what I'm actually saying. It is universally relevant. Doesn't matter you are coming from Davangere or Dharwad or Belgaum or Mandya or Bijapur or Bangalore, right? So this is the system, and what is the worst thing? All these IAS, IPS officers, feeding into that system, becoming part of that invisible structure, and supporting it. Actually, they keep supporting it either through silence, which we call it as integrity and honesty, right, or either through action, which we call as corruption. Either way, so you might have got a question in ethics paper or somewhere, there is total lack of risk taking attitude nowadays in bureaucrats. It is both out of fear and out of what? What? Out of ignorance. Yeah, some ignorance, but out of fear mostly. Why should I take the risk? And nobody is going to save me. Nobody is going to protect me. The political executive is going to make me victim, right? So we need a new breed of officers, a new breed of politicians as well, right? So when coming back to this interview preparation, right, you have to introspect, think everything based on the ground realities as well, right? Not merely through journals and magazines and newspapers. So for that, traveling a bit also actually helps. Doing internships, right? Wherever it is, with an NGO, right? Or there are think tanks, in cities like Bangalore, Mumbai. Do they have think tanks? In Delhi, Hyderabad. So better you go enroll, and maybe like good universities will have certain departments, and you need to travel, travel to wherever it is. Within urban setup, we have totally neglected areas as well, right? You can go there and interact with people. So the more you interact with the more number of people, not only it gives you confidence, it will also opens your mind, it enlightens you. It keeps giving you new perspectives about the issues that you have learned, or you are learning as part of your preparation. It keeps giving you new perspectives. So don't limit yourself to your books, classroom, room. You need to travel a lot, right? And keep writing about them. So we started this debate, from his answer. So try to be more critical about it, more analytical about it. So when you start writing about it, keep these two in your mind, right? So what is that new thing you are thinking about this experience, right? That you haven't learned from that particular source, your own thinking, right? So what do you write about? Yes. Oh, very good. Hmm. So you write on blog, or where were you writing? Okay. So visionary decision making happens when intuition meets logic. Hmm. 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 Correct. Good. Very good. So that is a new perspective. I was just about to ask that question when you made that statement, and then you came up with the answer. Good. Now, what is intuition? Is it possible to develop and strengthen our own intuition? How? Hmm? It's like your own Google, you know. The more you feed, the better search result, right? Intuition is like that. So you become better when you feed it more knowledge, more experiences, more exposure, more thinking, right? And it should be like issue based. I mean, it should not be random and dispersed. I think, right? The intuition gets strengthened. Like for me, the intuition about this exam, for example, right? Maybe predicting cutoff or predicting your own marks is based on more experience. Right, I have an intuition, instant, intuition. Yeah, this person is going to get a rank. He is going to score really good marks in SCR, in interview. Right. Sometimes we meet, and again, our intuition will be strong, but of course, the result totally depends on the actions of that particular individual. Right. So they have the potential we have identified, but okay. So now, yeah, so somebody, you also, right? What do you write about?
Like story.
Hmm.
Interested in like writing stories, seeing the macro level things like suppose crying what is happening.
Hmm.
Same thing might be happening in Bengaluru also.
Very good.
Some powerful people might evacuated some slum dwellers.
Hmm.
They have given real estate to the same thing is happening in international level also. So what I feel the problem is big or small.
Hmm.
The intricacies is same. Like, the way it is working is same. So I feel right even Mahabharata also I feel that even my family also I feel cousins are fighting or my relatives also. Same thing is happening in this world I feel. So I try to observe how things are repeating or how they are even happening at
So what he's saying is that, if you didn't hear the one sitting in the back. So he's saying that there is an underlying hmm, pattern when it comes to the internal feuds within family, the things that take place in a big city or in Bangalore between rich and poor, powerful and powerless, and then in Israel and Gaza, what is happening, right? So it's very much true. So now the question is, why do you think there is a pattern to it?
because all we are humans.
Hmm?
We are humans and we have same.
Good, but again, your answer should not be straightforward. Like in interview, you cannot say like we are humans, right? In interview, you cannot. So, what could be the reason? What could be the answer? Why do we have pattern like at family level? And of course, we are humans. Then, what is more human about it? Hmm? Lesson is not learned from the experience. Ego boundary. Hmm.
It differentiates as a unit, mine versus others, or myself versus other. At a family level, doesn't if he is thinking of his own family, then he will think the other family isn't outside. But it is at the society level, one community, be it caste or be it related to particular social groups, they think that they are in unison, and other person as an opponent. At the national level, also, when it comes to each individual of the country, think that
No, the very question is, why do they think like that? Hmm?
Psychological reason.
No, what is psychological about? Hmm. Good, good. Need for survival. Hmm? Correct. So, how many of you read this Yuval Noah Harari book, Sapiens? Answer is there in that book, I think. Hmm.
Still is premised upon that fight or flight instinct which our ancestors had. And all our human actions, even today, is based on that. Hence, there is a sort of predictability in whatever we do.
Okay, good.
Even
So, what he said is that the psychological evolution has taken backseat compared to the physical evaluation. The psychological evaluation is still limited or are dominated by that primitive instincts. So what he said, need for survival. Then? Hmm. Hmm. Okay. Hmm.
Homogeneous.
Okay, like what is intelligent here? Hmm. Hmm. So you are trying to say even artificial intelligence will behave in the same manner. Basically, artificial intelligence is learning from humans. Learning from humans, what is okay? We'll come to that point. Any other answers?
Homogeneous.
Homogeneity.
Homogeneous individuals tend to coalesce together to
Hmm.
form a group, which is the nature of evolution. Even if we take wildlife also, like for example, monkeys signaling the arrival of tiger or any other predator. So they attribute it as weaker animals versus a apex predator. So even though they may be different species, deer and a monkey, but then they tend to form a coalesce or mutually existing relationship. That is when they differentiate into two groups.
Those who have anthropology as your optional. Hmm? Cyclic? Psychic unity of mankind. Okay. But again, why do we have discrimination? Like we have all this caste and community and all this religious, and within family also belonging to same blood, same family. So then there is always a feud. Idea of hierarchy. Like, the basic question is why do it stems from insecurity basically, right? Someone is insecure that my power is you know getting downgraded or getting eroded. My resources needs to be shared with more number of people, right? So we have this insecurity, right? But at the same time, we also will have certain selfless people also. I mean, very rare, right? So now that this is not part of guidance, I'm just asking you a question. Why can't everyone become selfless? Why this selflessness is an exception? Huh?
Not everyone can achieve Maslow's hierarchies.
Huh?
Not everyone can achieve what Maslow's hierarchy set at the top.
And again, Maslow's hierarchy, again, it cannot be achieved only through thinking and other things, only through resources. What I've noticed is people become more selfless when they have more resources. And we label it as selfless. Bill Gates, like very selfless. So he can give so much money. What about Ambani? Hmm? What about your own UPSC journey? Hmm? How many of you have this sharing attitude, without fortunately, what I noticed is that UPSC community is an exception. Here, I don't know, there is something about this competition. Maybe you can dominate within your discussion and all, but when it comes to sharing, and there is more democratization of knowledge and information among UPSC community. They easily share our videos and test series when it is not yours.
cannot survive long here in this situation. What I felt was
Correct.
they can't survive here itself. They
People who are not selfish cannot survive more here, it's correct. True, true. Huh? Okay. So why I was asking these questions and all, no, I mean, I want you to think endlessly. So there are multiple answers to all the questions. There are multiple perspectives, right? So that is the reason I said the more you interact with more number of people, you'll start learning more perspectives. Otherwise, what I'm thinking, I think is the only perspective, or you may not be able to think about it unless there is some kind of spark, there is some kind of ignition, there is some kind of provocation, right, for you to think differently. So that can come from a book, that can come from, that is why. So there should be diversity in your preparation right now, right? So that is why I recommended, go to think tanks and go and attend seminars, IASC, and what, there are many cultural centers, India Exhibition Center, right? What is its name? In Bangalore, there is a big exhibit, BIC, Bangalore International. So I think almost every week or every day there is something going on. It will be there somewhere in the corner of newspaper. There is this seminar. They invite Nobel laureates. They invite some people. So it actually elevates your thinking. From your conventional thinking to unconventional thinking. It will push you to think like that. And somewhere in the interview, that is what is required, right? So going back to my first point, thinking the obvious. Like there are so many candidates, right, who have got really good marks in my mock interviews. So from Bangalore, like last year, before last year, this Avinash Rao was there. He got rank 31. He got into Indian Foreign Service. So knowledge wise, he was exceptional. So he had read so many books, and he was able to think fast and all. So I was predicting minimum 206, but he got 198. Somewhere what happened was he felt that the interview was not as uh, you know uh, intellectual maybe, right? So sometimes the nature of the question, the beginning of the discussion also matters. So he was expecting maybe even more challenging questions, right? If he was thrown more challenging question, maybe he would have given more better answers. The Jaydev was another candidate, National Law School. He got 206, right? So he was like that. So he was in fact intimidatory, right? His responses would intimidate you. Intimidate means hmm? Huh? No, not frighten, but yeah, too many things. So in one answer. So then, so my expectations used to be higher, but even then, if it was intimidatory, then I would tone him down, saying that something might similar happen in the interview, right? So you should know the frequency. You should know to what extent you can go beyond. So that also, that is why I keep saying, keep interacting with the people who know more, right? So do you have that kind of, accessibility to people? Hmm? Here, no, in insights you won't get. That's why I said, no, you make a list of these activities and at least attend like 4 or 5 such events. It can be related to science, technology. I'm sure like lots of debates are happening, right? So now the caste census issue is going on here. So in Karnataka, right, whether government should accept and release it to the public or not. Certain castes are opposing it, some castes are demanding it, right? How do you see this whole issue? So what is your view? Those who have read sociology or those who have read anthropology? Hmm. Okay. Again, what you are saying is the fact. Now, what is the opinion here? What do you think about it? Should it be accepted, released? or not? Does it further strengthen caste consciousness? Hmm? It will? It will result in new identity politics. Okay. We already have identity politics. It will further strengthen. Hmm.
Institution is being there for many
Hmm.
years. So it is inevitable. What I can not avoid it. So we should keep on adjusting it according to the needs. It is
So
inevitable.
caste as an institution has been there like since long ago. So keeping it, we have to keep.
You can't destroy it in any means.
Hmm.
We have to adjust it to bring justice. We have to make adjustment.
No, that talk is gone. Like casteless society is gone now. Right.
It's impossible.
The very first thing when I visit a village is asked is for me, the elders in the village, first tell me your caste. It's a outright question. Uh, what do you say? Like, in urban setup, when somebody asks it little hurts you, or it's strange here, right? When you go to a village, that too as a politician, when aspiring politician, and asks, I don't ask. I mean, they immediately ask is okay. Yalla ಹೇಳ್ದೆ ಈಗ ನಿನ್ ಜಾತಿ ಯಾವ್ದು ಹೇಳು, right? So the very moment the caste is told, then either they, wow, I mean, yeah, we can support, or some like like their reaction is slightly different. So luckily they are in minority for me, right? So it's part of reality. This question, like, to speak from the experience, there is no data about how many people belong to which caste actually. So in Davangere constituency, when I go and try to search, nobody has any accurate data about the caste, right? Like, media keeps giving their own report. They will say that example, like Lingayat population in this particular Davangere or within that particular is this much. Another newspaper report will give another number. You go to Tahsildar office, DC office, another new number. So something based on 2011 census, right? And in 10-15 years, there has been increase in population, and we don't know accurately. So this has huge political ramifications, right? So to demand, especially from the social justice perspective, right? To demand what is rightful to you, maybe in terms of government benefits, maybe in terms of political representation. So those people who haven't got these fruits of development or social justice, whatever it is, so they want these numbers to be released, right? So they say they see it as a right, they see it as a tool, basically tool with which they can be more vocal about it, right? They can start demanding without having numbers in you can never. So they keep giving random numbers. This much percent of population is backward. You ask 10 people, they have 10 different numbers to say. So in a way, it should be accepted and released, but with consensus, right? And to arrive at consensus is very difficult in society. In Karnataka, when you have powerful matha system, mathas, and powerful leaders, it's very difficult. Like, look from sociological and political. I mean, forget about where you belong to, which caste. Now, when you start thinking, you should not think from your own caste viewpoint, right? We should slightly distance ourselves from our own caste, whichever caste you belong to, and stand in a corner and observe what is happening. Like in Davangere constituency, for example, there are 8 MLA constituencies. Small political lesson, right? So 8 MLA constituencies make 1 member of parliament, right? So out of 8, the 6 constituencies belong to one particular caste, one particular subcaste of a caste, and that subcaste is the more dominant subcaste of that particular caste, right? 8 out of 6 constituencies. and the member of parliament also belongs to that particular subcaste of a dominant caste, right? The situation, and they are less than 20% of the population, going by the, so this is the system we have in the Karnataka also, and they try to do, this social justice thing in KPSC also, in ministry also, everywhere, which is absurd, right? So it's a very challenging thing, like how to address this. This is a real, issue. So which actually dictates, governs, controls the way people, live their lives everywhere, right? We as aspirants, even I was none, I didn't know about all these things till I went there and started. So I have this academic outlook, wherever I go, whenever I interact. So try to see it from the perspective of somebody who wants to strengthen democracy, who is concerned about the real democracy. So that concern, I think we should all have somewhere innately. As I think that also leads you to get a newer perspective. Otherwise, you know, so we don't see that, and we keep repeating, what is being told us, what is fed to us, right? What should be the answer? God released, huh?
How this caste census can benefit
Poor in power, poor in power, the 14% one or 3% ones? Hmm.
they are
Hmm. Hmm. Okay, it's a very sensitive issue. No comments.
how this can benefit
Huh?
how this can benefit. For example, how this can
No, it will lead to disaster, right? You have limited resources, right? And as I said, the more people you start producing, and then again, the more limited resources you have, right? Neither you will get political power nor the resources, right? And it will lead to disaster. Eradicate discrimination. No, it gives rise to new discrimination. I mean, it won't eradicate discrimination. Yeah, correct. As I said, we need it, right? But the thing is, do you think the upper caste will sit silently and hmm? They will again start holding more grip on the power, right? And they will resort to all the means to consolidate power. Then the politics become even more unstable, right? It is already unstable because of these things. It will become even more unstable, right?
Actually, population issue and caste census issue should be seen separately, sir. Because when it comes to population issue, the same is happening with in the entire country also. Because total fertility rate of southern states versus total fertility rate of the northern states, if we compare with the census, so they have higher fertility, higher population. Thus, they get a more number of representation in the parliament. So that is the population issue. That is going to be there, irrespective of the caste census issue. Caste census issue, it should be done with the two drawbacks. The two drawbacks would be, one thing would be the idea of caste identity and other things could be further enhanced. That is one thing. But the counter argument to that is it has been ongoing since thousands of years. So the idea of casteless society does not exist. The second major challenge is the number of diversity or the complexity of the caste system in India is quite huge. So within the subcaste only there are further divisions. So we do not have a definition criteria. So if at all caste census has to be taken, It has to be parallelly followed by a definition criteria at least at the state level. And the importance of caste census is pivotal because to address anything, we have to assess it. So to deliver justice or to deliver resources available, we should know the proportional representation of the different communities. Then only we will be able to deliver.
Good.
Sir, on the cancer, it is asked that caste census is true or
Hmm?
not. What's the guarantee in front of them?
See, ideally you should speak what you really believe in the real interview. What you strongly believe. I mean, as I said, the way you can defend, right? So it should not be my opinion, ideally. So personally, I want it to be released, personally, right? So there are many reasons, right? But the thing is, it complicates everything, right? Especially it makes polity unstable. It has economic implications also, right? And now we are living in a situation where higher castes wants to be in lower castes, right? Everywhere, in every part of country now, it's not just about the status and identity. It's more about the benefits, right? It's more about security, economic security, livelihood security for their children, next generation, right? So in a way, they are very less bothered about the class, I mean the caste discrimination per se, right? So no, I mean, except for very lower caste, I mean the other caste, they don't get hurt if you point that you belong to this caste or something. Like in Karnataka, the Kuruba community is fighting for the ST status, right? So now it is in the OBC. So there are some in the higher caste, they want to be in OBC, and certain higher caste, they also said that originally we were actually SCs. So there was a statement. I mean, if you someone remember, they said that the topmost caste, they said originally we were SCs and all.
Consciousness would be there might be same higher caste consciousness.
Exactly. Did you get his point? Psychologically, they still have higher caste mentality. Let us stop this discussion like this, right? It's disturbing in a way that basically, what limited resources the lower caste have, you want to just take them away also, right? So that is the mentality. So yeah, let us come back to. So conventionally, I used to do it differently. I would tell you, previously few things, and then so here what I'm just trying to do is that ultimately I want to have. I mentioned something related to airport test last interview guidance session which I took in Delhi. Airport test. Airport test. There is a airport test logic, right? Let us say that him and me, we get stuck in an airport, right? And then flight gets cancelled, right? We both have to stay there for like 8 hours, maybe like 6 hours, right? So I should be able to have conversation with him on everything, anything without getting bored, so that time flies. I'll never feel that I've been waiting for something. So when you can't talk, when you can't think, what do you do? When there is slight delay or something, right? You become restless and other. So when you are having really engaging conversation, right? Time flies. So such kind of knowledge, or even if you don't have knowledge, ability to engage one, based on how you are able to bring up new things, or creatively, or going through your experience or sharing your experiences. You can engage in multiple ways. Need not be only through knowledge, through your experiences also. So if you keep doing that, so then the interview is actually done. Very few people can do it, right? Some people have inhibitions, just to speak, talk, or to even ask questions. So you have to overcome that particular inhibition. You should be very open. No, you have to be very open, in asking questions, sharing opinion. And also, it's okay to say wrong things and get pointed out by, another person. Some people always want to give the right answer, right? The moment they are given something, if somebody points out, we get hurt. So it's perfectly fine, have it, keep learning. And in the real interview, you have to engage 5 different members. So they have these 5 different disciplines, or no, 3 disciplines, one economy or one IR, and one purely based on what you have mentioned in DAF. And based on what you have mentioned in DAF, the entire interview can go in that direction as well. So my suggestion, when I asked that question, one writing hobby, writing on some discipline, right? Or blogging on journaling, right? Some 1 or 2 disciplines which you are good at, which you are actually good at, right? Are you an avid reader about AVID or avid reader about artificial intelligence, right? So you may be reading various blogs about it, right? Books, non-fiction books, following particular, people on Twitter, or listening to podcast related to artificial intelligence. So you can start writing about it, right? Have you developed such kind of hobbies? Or maybe it can be cricket also. Cricket, you watch cricket, you think about cricket, but can you write something about, like Virat Kohli's, so his record, right?
Yesterday was article in Vinay
Hmm.
how the best bill is social consciousness built Virat Kohli.
Oh, very good.
Society shapes the spirit at work. Even
What is this consciousness?
they are very aggressive, competitive.
Hmm.
That's what the society.
They're very competitive.
Because of
Hmm.
most of the refugees of partition, they are settled in the West Bengal.
Hmm.
So obviously there was a resource of resources, so they have become competitive.
Hmm.
So they are saying maybe this societal reasons may be one of the factor to give to bring to society.
So the competitive spirit, which was compelled by people pouring in because of partition, fight for resources, means generation after generation, that that makes people to train their children, study well, or if you want to do something, be best in that, because others are going to snatch, something like that attitude. Maybe that is one of the reasons. So yeah, can you think like that? And that is what, we forget, we have one issue, we don't link it to, either society or economy, polity, or the history of that particular region, or the nature of the people, right? The occupation of the people or the culture of the people. So thinking one particular issue from, so all the other aspects related to them, I think will give you more different answers, right? So when you start writing, you can take time. You can take time to write your opinion. So then a question will come into, okay, why Virat Kohli is so competitive, fiercely competitive, right? Is it because of nutrition? So people say, is it because of his, the tough routine of training and other things, discipline, right? Now there is a social angle to it, cultural angle to it, right? So similarly, maybe you can, is there any personal angle to it? Maybe like, story. Somebody might have written in some book or something, maybe you can explore. Some experiences push you, right, to go beyond ordinariness, or, go beyond your comforts, certain experiences. So is there any such angle? Maybe you can ask a question and learn. So the moment there is a question, like you have mentioned following cricket, why do you think Virat Kohli, do you think Virat Kohli will break all the records of all the cricketers? You may say yes, then why do you think he is so consistent? Right? So instead of just giving, he has strict uh, discipline, nutrition, and other thing, maybe 1 or 2, so somewhere I read that if you give this point, yeah, my next question is going to be different. Different in the sense that, sourced from what you have just said. You got it? So try to develop that. The writing will compel you to actually learn something like this, right? So one is blogging or something, like you can choose your topic. It can be sport, culture related. Like if you are a Bharatanatyam or Odissi, Kathakali dancer or something, maybe you can start writing about it, right? From different perspectives. Open a blog. My very sincere suggestion. Again, don't be ordinary. Like, So you have all written mains and then now you are dreaming about giving UPSC interview. And then if at all you are into UPSC interview, it is 100% certain that you can walk out with a rank. Right? 100%. There is no 80, 90%. 100% you can be sure of getting a rank, some rank in the list. Right? So if it is 200 plus or 198 plus, there is going to be a rank for you. So to get that, right, you now again don't live in that comfort zone, right? So open a blog, wordpress.com, blogspot.com, or Twitter. Now Twitter allows you to write. You can buy that premium account for only 2 to 3 months, and you can start. It doesn't matter whether people are going to read or maybe you can share among your friends and start writing about it. Secondly, buy books compulsorily. Any non-fiction, but you may like, you may not like. So try to see which really interests you, right? So does anybody have like different interest? What do you read more about? Like when you read every day beyond your UPSC syllabus? Hmm? Hmm? College. What about you, writer? Science, non-fiction. Within science, is it related to space and space technology? Is it related to AI and other things? Very good. New philosophy. Hmm? Regarding geopolitics. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. Hmm? Military strategy. Very good. Hmm? You're reading books on them. Rights related. Okay, good. Matte?
Automobiles.
You read books on automobiles. Oh, very good. Hmm. Fiction. You read fiction also. Hmm? Then, see, this is compulsory. Right. If you're not doing it, you are not going to get 170 or 180. Don't be under the impression that you are going to get it. Because your answers are going to be so predictable. Unless, as I said, you have some experiences, in your life. In your short duration of your life, maybe during college days, post college days, you have gone through lots of experiences, lots of exposure, even if you haven't read books, right? Then also you're going to score really good marks. But that is also not there. And now, as I said, that gap needs to be filled, right? In 30, 40 days, what you haven't done during college days, I think that can be done only by reading and writing more and more right now. And it should be done, like on a mission mode. Last year I met a girl in Delhi. She was reading like 7 to 8 books in a month. She was already in service, right? She said that she had joined some readers club, and every week she makes sure that minimum 2 books are read. So how do you manage time? Like after my training, after 5:30, entire time, every day I just read books, right? And then during my work hour, I interact with people. I do my work and other things. So it is possible. It's just the priorities, right? And you have whole time, from morning to evening, right? So even if you give 2 to 3 hours in a week, so in a day, in 3, 4 days you can complete a book easily. 3 hours a day, 3 to 4 days, one book you can actually complete. It's just like you should have that discipline. Just instead of self-control, basically. Instead of just trying to read so many things from different sources, that self-control have a book in your hand, try reading it. See, sorry to use this word, like for ordinary candidates, they will use questions, they'll ask questions from these optional, this and that. So students, candidates who can offer more, they will never ask simple factual questions, questions from optional, the usual questions. They won't ask. You see the transcripts. There are predictable transcript questions on DAF, your district and other things. I would never ask Avinash, like, tell something very interesting in Davangere, right? Or how the Davangere name came up or something like that. Because that person has something more to offer on diversity of subjects, topics. So I am more interested in knowing in depth more about, other things rather than trivia, right? You have to be prepared on that, right? But you should allow, don't let interview board ask those questions. It depends on your first one and two questions itself. They can, I think, in 5-6 minutes they know with whom they are, having conversation. So hope I'm not like, I'm telling the actual thing. I don't think everyone will have this similar perspective. I don't know. Like, I don't know what other people say in their interview programs and other things. So this is the truth of it, right? If you don't have more to offer, more depth, so you are out of the race, right? How you are going to build? I have given you the way forward, right? Throughout the interview, throughout this class. So you have to be engaged in that process. The normal routine of reading paper, making notes, no. Beyond that, you have to go. So what you should do is that, make groups of people, like, 4 or 5 people, uh, keep debating, discussing these issues. And as he gave, like, 2 different perspectives on 2 different issues. So try to read multiple. So cricket, on Virat Kohli, you might skip article because you're not into sport, but still try to read about it. I miss this particular phase, as an aspirant, I would enjoy this particular phase. I used to be like this. That is why I failed. Even during mains, I would read random things. Not stick during that time. You should stick to certain things in a disciplined way. You should not be like this because it is predictable there. In interview, it is not predictable, right? The nature of questions can be anything. So one writing on various things, maybe another second one, attending the seminars and other things. Third, reading non-fiction books, right? Or maybe there are n number of international reports which keep coming, right, on various things. By the time this, by Ukraine war, there may be so many things, reports and other things, which people don't read and nobody reads. For whom they are meant, even they also don't read them. So maybe you can read something like that. And then so many NGOs, think tanks, they keep coming up with their own, articles and reports. So you can explore. You can put that as also as hobby, right? And podcast, listening to podcast. You can choose 1 or 2 disciplines within pod. It can be related to spirituality. It can be related to uh, personality development. It can be related to certain, disciplines. So that also can be another hobby. Or reading blogs of others, or following Twitters, right? Or listening to speeches and reading speeches, right? So of various people. So there are so many things that you should start doing it, right? Any questions you have? Any doubts? Any- For interview, no. For interview, no. Maybe for next attempt, yes. Not required. spend more time. I mean, first decide your hobbies and interests. First decide your DAV, right? So once you have decided, okay, artificial intelligence is one thing. So climate justice related one thing that you are very keen about, right? The future of agriculture that you are really worried about it, right? You are worried about the relationship between development and democracy that or you are worried about future of capitalism, what capitalism is going to look like in the world of artificial intelligence in the future, right? Or you are more worried about the caste related issues, right? So that also you can put. So identify like 4 or 5 things, devote more time on these things, right? So these interesting things, definitely they will start asking questions, right? Definitely they will start. The cricket, instead of just putting the word cricket, put it differently, right? Differently in the sense that what you are actually doing about it, right? Are you very keen on just analyzing the data related numbers related to cricket, right? Are you statistics? Yes. So are you more keen on reading the stories, right? Other people who are part of the cricket, like Afghan cricket, for example, right? So can you study about Afghan cricket? Why do they play cricket? From which parts of Afghanistan they are coming? So what is the support they have from their Taliban government, right? How is it supporting, right? So something like this. So you can go link it to history, culture, their politics, and try to learn. So based on that, create a phrase and then mention in your DAF, right? So it should be little descriptive in your DAF. It can be like 2 to 3 things, but it should be slightly descriptive. Some people just mention cricket, playing cricket, watching cricket. So it's difficult to ask question. Watching movies.
Phrase, what would be the phrase? Phrasing the phrase.
What exactly you do? Like you tell me, I'll help you.
Try to learn something from it, not just as entertainment.
Hmm.
Try to look at it, maybe whatever it's happening.
Hmm.
So there are successful people. There are more successful people than in this aspect. What I so only 50 members have to play out of this. But I try to observe most of
He has a new perspective. So they are more successful than UPSC people. Only 15 people have to play from the billion population for Indian team. Like you people, like hundreds of you, right?
I try to learn gain from their maybe or their behaviors.
Hmm.
So how crazy people are.
Maybe you can say behavioral analysis of people playing cricket, people aspirational about cricket. That's something like this, right? Behavioral analysis or the analysis of success, uh, s- analysis of life of successful people in cricket, something like this. Or if it is strictly behavior, maybe behavioral analysis would suit. It's about more about story of their life, right? So in that way, it can be. It's okay. 5, 6 words, it's fine. Mhm.
Can backfire.
I didn't get.
Having personal opinion,
Hmm.
controlling balanced or general
Okay.
opinion can backfire.
No, no. As I said, you should be able to defend it. Can you defend? Like it should not be mere opinion, right? Why do you believe in that? Why do you have such opinion? It's okay to have contrary opinion. Hmm. And also, you should not change your stance. Also, that's what I meant by conviction. You stick to it.
That process,
Hmm.
they ask which I have
It's okay. You say you don't know. So this is one mistake people do, right? With the fear that if I say more, they will ask more questions, right? So they stop saying that thing in the interview. It's a mistake. Like you can also ask me a question, anything. If I do, I know I'll try to answer. If I don't, I'll straight for plainly accept that I don't know about it, right? It won't make me look small in front of you, right? So honesty actually further enhances my image rather than, if you're judging that way, then you are immature, right? If you're judging me because I don't know something, when I say I don't know something, I am not small, it is you who is small. And the people sitting in UPSC are not small people. So they're very broad, they're not judgmental. So don't worry about it. You have to prepare everything. You have to prepare. Prepare. Especially go into the cultural, social, economic aspects of those places and prepare them. So not the trivia aspect. Yeah, you can. So that the places and all, I mean, see the major area is hobbies, extracurricular interests. So that is the major area, and also your scholarships and achievements. That is also there, right? So make that particular as very interesting, and they won't go into the places and other things. So don't allow them to skip that page, right? So this I have seen many people mentioning it. Okay, like like they have mentioned farming. They have mentioned because they don't know how to put it. So when I ask this question, they say they are working as IT professional in Bangalore. They have mentioned farming. So they say whenever I go back home, I do farming. Now because of COVID, many people started work from home, right? So they also started involving in farming activities. Now you should know when you want to mention farming, like it opens up with the whole world of farming, agriculture, right? Agriculture related issues. Were you just like occasionally doing some kind of stuff in farm? Were you also more academically interested, right? Then you should not mention it, right? So it won't help you actually. Hmm? Numismatics. No, no. I mean, if you're serious about it, you mention it. Hmm. And then write a word. Like have collected, coins, currencies from, uh, let's say, like 100 countries. If that, if that is that much significant, mention it. Hmm? Mention, be specific about it. Now the princely states, and the British opens up a new, right, discussion point, hmm, like that. Instead of just numismatics, philately also, like within that you may have specific interest, philately within that. So that also you can mention. Some people mention commemorative stamps. ನಿಜವಾಗ್ಲೂ ಸಾಲಿಡ್ ಹಾಬೀಸ್ ಇದೆ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಯಾರಿಗದು ಏನಾದ್ರು ಅಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ UPSC? ವೆರಿ ಗುಡ್, ಮೆನ್ಷನ್. Have you won any award for it? Have you got any recognition for it? Now after 10th, are you doing it, still doing it? But you never participated. Mm-hmm. Because of UPSC. Photography.
Photography, landscape photography.
Landscape photography. Okay. Now Madhubani painting, just mention, like if you got recognition, that you would have added. Like for example, you won first prize, or you got UNESCO award for something. So then you could have mentioned that as combine achievement with the hobby. Then that would become elaborative. So within Madhubani painting, if you've been doing some experiments, right? So then you can elaborate that. Like, are you doing some experiments? Are you trying to do some kind of fusion or some? I don't know, right? So then maybe you can elaborate it. It's very good. Then recreating classic Madhubani Okay, okay. Hmm. So recreating classical Madhubani painting for spiritual fulfillment, something like that. Huh? You can mention it, it's fine. Hmm? Hmm. Hmm. It's not hobby. That you can mention, like presented papers you can mention. I remember Jaydev and all, they used to mention the presented paper on this and that can. What kind of degrees? Hmm.
They mention how.
That is there, that is anyway it is there, we have to mention it in your higher education column. Not in hobbies. No, I mean like some people have this crazy habit, hobby of getting more degrees. Some, you, you have three. You also have, right? Yeah. I also enrolled for four and discontinued. None of I completed. Right. See, then use it as hobby. No, I mean, don't mention the degree graduation year. So if you have read so much about agriculture, biotechnology, right? Hmm? Psychology. So then three beautiful hobbies you have, discipline, interests. Huh. That is there anyway. They won't ask much questions. But these three, biotechnology and the psychology. What is within psychology? Anything very interesting? Hmm? Clinical psychology. So you mentioned something related to clinical psychology. Then you cannot mention under interests. Because you cannot answer those questions unless you are deeply interested about. Because mere doing graduations won't help, right? If you mention those words, there will be questions on them. Or maybe you can say like doing multiple post graduations or something. But then they will ask, okay, which post graduation you have? Then you mention agriculture, biotechnology, psychology. No, that is there. Okay. Now we are discussing about this particular, the three post graduations what you have done. So my suggestion is that pick something specific within them, and if not all the three, at least one or two. Psychology may be more interesting than biotechnology for you. So that you can put it as one of the hobbies in addition to healthy eating and fitness. Hmm? Right. Where more marks in interview? One serious post graduation will definitely have a good impression, and work experience will have a good impression. But having multiple, I mean, they will ask definitely multiple questions, right, on all your multiple degrees, and through your answers to these questions, they will assess. I mean, it will only, it's just risky, right? Mm.
Basic definition of hobby itself. I felt it's very debatable.
See, hobby is something that you have been doing consistently.
Is it
Hobby is more of doing stuff, right?
isn't it a privilege or luxury for
No, no.
someone is
It depends on the resources. For example, let us say coffee tasting, right? So it was one of hobbies. You taste this bite of coffee, that is not privilege, right? Only you can afford that much. But can you go to Oberoi and that ITC, right? Windsor, and then you will go to like Delhi and all these Khan market. So there also you taste another coffee. So some people will have all these different coffee beans put in homes, and then they will have weird names to all of them, and they will, so that becomes coffee tasting. It is all higher taste, right? It is because of the availability of resource. They can travel, they can afford, they have means to go to such places, they have such kind of network, right?
so even if it is fine with this hobby,
Hmm?
is it fine that I've been particular hobby recently.
It's okay. It's fine. 1 or 2 years, 6 months or now from now onwards. They won't ask any. See, 1 or 2 questions they will ask. Nowadays, people are dying in gym, right? Is it related to COVID? I mean, I'm not kidding. Like, so there may be like 2, 3 questions. I mean, related to health, fitness, and all. But again, it won't result in. I mean, unless your answer is really something. Even for the lame question, your answer is something wonderful. So, so then that will start another discussion. Theater you must mention. What interest? It is interest. Yes. Hobby is doing. Interest is knowing, learning. Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Panel, keeping the fact that
Hmm.
if institution is building authority who
Hmm.
them are building that last census should not release
Hmm.
and having the opinion should be released. So in that case, should I should be prepared for the that what they want to hear? So I keep my opinion and defend it.
So now don't worry about the prejudices and all. Okay. So if you really believe in it should be released, prepare in that direction. Also know about why people are saying it should not be released. Right. So in your answer have both the dimensions. Right. So for example, while you are giving answer, you are actually countering all the points what people say should not be released. You got it. Your answer is answer to even those questions as well. Right. So if you learn from different perspectives, then you can give such kind of an answer. There won't be a counter question because you have answered all the questions, right? So go with what you believe, but it doesn't mean that you should have an extreme opinion. Extreme opinions are dangerous, right? I mean, just because conviction, you cannot have extreme opinion. So just know that where is extreme opinion. For example, like extrajudicial killings, right? So there, I think largely it is better to say it is what? Hmm? Wrong, right? Doesn't matter which board, which institution, you have to keep saying wrong. So saying yes, I think is still extreme, right? Hmm. See, any hobby, like for example, earlier we were discussing, right? So one hobby will require you to be resourceful. Be resourceful, right? Being resourceful is not like just running after resource. You know how to use the limited resources to your advantage, to be creative, to do something, right? So that is one trait of bureaucrats. In some areas you won't have any resources. There you have to do developmental work, right? Second, the other things related to how it keeps you focused, hmm, concentrated, equanimity, keeping your creative, the balance of mind. I mean, so all. Yeah, like depending on your hobby, which hobby, like for in your case, valuing the heritage, right? Valuing and promoting the heritage, so wherever you go, you can promote, and people who are dependent on them, that also you can do something like this. I mean, depending on hobby, you think. So think of 4 or 5 traits of a bureaucrat, and see are you learning them as part of your hobby. Is there anything that you wanted me to address in this? You can ask. My interview, it was long ago, 2000. So I have already told multiple times because you are asking it. I'll again tell you. Right? Good to go back, become nostalgic, and hmm? because only one interview I gave, and that was really wonderful. So when I went to give interview, I was working as Panchayat Development Officer, right? And when I went to give interview, that was going to be my first interview in my life. I was actually getting into MBBS, so I financial issues. I did BSc genetics, and then during that time there were no interviews. After that, I didn't apply for jobs and other things. So as part of this UPSC, through self-study, I got selected, and so went to Delhi in a train. So there I started meeting all these, intelligent people in Karnataka Bhavan. So there were people, IPS probationers, IRS probationers. So they were not walking on the ground, they were floating around the Karnataka Bhavan as if they knew everything, trying to intimidate, trying to, dominate people, lesser mortals, coming from villages. So, but I had EPWs in my bag, right? Right. So, it's balancing, this. Then they started noting EPW, yeah, this something. Then I had a blog, functional blog with hundreds of articles, right? I showed them. So, started respecting me, right? But never had the confidence of giving interview. So there was this one mock interview arranged by now the founder of India for IAS, named Srinivas. He used to be in Delhi and very active in giving accommodation, facilitating accommodation, everything to people who used to go to Delhi for interview. So he had organized one mock interview in Delhi Kannada Sangha, right? The previous chief secretary Vijay Bhaskar IAS, he and there was one partner of this India for IAS, so he is also IAS officer. He will also conduct mock interviews. You can go and attend. This is none. So they were in the panel, and my first mock interview was just around like 11:30, I think. So it was going to be my first mock interview, or first interview of any kind, right? So I went there. I didn't know what to prepare, right? I had put hobby as blogging, walking in the countryside, and and the amateur photography, something like. My brother had got a job he was working in cruise ship, so he had bought a camera, and I was very fond of experimenting. While going for walk, I would take all kinds of pictures and think that would upload them also on the blog, website. So I had mentioned that, and also reading books in general. I used to read a lot. So in the beginning, they asked, okay, you are Panchayat Development Officer, and what do you do as part of your job? I went blank, like total blank. I do so many things now. What should I say here? The very first question, I went blank and I became totally nervous. I didn't know what to say. I went blank, and I was not a blabbering or something. I didn't say anything. Then they gave me some time, and they asked, okay, where are you working? So even that answer also I had already, got nervous, very first question. So I didn't answer properly. His name is Kedarnath, this partner. So he suddenly woke up and said that, I think you are not ready, right? Come prepared. So you are not able to give answer like, you come till Delhi or something. There was some sarcasm to it. So I kind of, they were in a hurry, I think. Then they said, next week we'll arrange your mock. So after 6-7 days was my interview. So then I said, I didn't say anything. Basically, I just came out. I wanted to get over this experience, just walk out from it. So that was the mindset, experience. So then there was this small hall, the function hall, and there I went and sat in a corner, and then started asking myself question. Started questioning myself. So you have cleared mains, I come to Delhi, to give interview. And in this moment, like, why did you behave, or performly the way you did? Then I told myself I'm already Panchayat Development Officer, right? I have one Panchayat and and I had done Gram Sabha also there. Gram Sabha, like it was most of a conversation, right? So here I had the notion that these five people were so big people, learned and intelligent people. I had created this hype. So then I told myself that you have nothing to lose. If you're not going to get IAS, you have the PDO job, you're going back and working. Then I asked Srinivas, can you give me one more mock interview? He said, they'll take some scope, no, like it is not there. And all I requested, no, because my interview is in another 5-6 days, give me one. The same day, usually people don't give like second mock or something. I take many mocks, like. So they gave post lunch, they gave me, and I was like so calm at that time. I told myself, I just want this experience to get over. I'll just answer whatever they are asking, and then I will go back. But I had actually so much to offer. I was blogging, I was reading, and I had unique experience of working in Panchayat, implementing Narega scheme. At that time, total sanitation campaign, Indira Awas Yojana, conducting Gram Sabha, so many things. Right, even conducting auction for these commons. There was a lake and auctioning of fish, and it was a very unique experience. And roaming around villages, visiting homes, and the huts, how people would live in hut, and trying to give them home, by convincing the members. I done all of this. So while thinking there, like I felt I belong more to such kind of thing, right? If not IAS, work as PDO, maybe after 25-30 years get promoted to IAS. I had that fixed my mind that this is the final. I'll just answer their question. And then Vijay Bhaskar sir, he started asking question like, have you read works of Kuvempu? You have Kannada literature is your optional. So I had read all of his books. So even beyond what was there in the syllabus. So I mentioned those books. So then he asked like, so what is the cultural angle, you see in this? Or what is the spiritual angle? I answered those questions. And then started asking about, this Narega scheme and other things. I started talking about, job card, scam, the loopholes in the MIS system, and other things in the mock. At the end of the interview, he asked, was it you who came, in the morning, right? Were you the same person who came in the morning? And they were all like so focused while I was answering. So then I said, yes, sir, first mock interview, I got nervous. He said one thing that that stayed with me till. So I am going to see your name in top 100, he said. He actually said, and you will score one of the highest scores in the interview, he said. And then I was very happy, like, I believed, of course. And I just keep rewinding that throughout next, no mock, no nothing. All these floating people, I also started floating, like I was in that zone. I went to interview, same, nothing to lose. Vijay Bhaskar sir has given me a certificate, right? We'll go. And even the interview panel also loved. I mean, the questions were varied, there was diversity. And answers were more born out of experience rather than, what I had read from books and other things. Because the questions were more related to what I was doing. So I got 210, so out of 300. That year, I think 23 people got more than 200. So, but I had scored low marks in geography and Kannada literature. Missed rank by 2 marks. I have put that marks card on my Twitter. Okay. That year, if you see, I missed a rank by 2 marks. But at that time, there was no coaching, there was no guidance, nobody would tell you anything, nothing. There was nothing like this. Only after insights came to Bangalore, things started here, right? So it was me who first brought the website culture to the whole UPSC preparation. My blog I converted into UPSC after my failed attempts, right? And then only all this current affairs, quiz, on vision just had started, but this whole the intense preparation, the answer rating, it was my creative idea. So I used to do blogging. I thought I should make all UPSC aspirants write every day. And then I started daily answer writing challenge, one post. And in the very first year, so many ranks came, Abdal Akhtar and all, they used to write, and he's the DC of Koraput, right? So many people. So I would never document, they would, they were a random visitor answering with different names. And 14 I started the same writing, more focused on writing. Started yielding result. Now what happened is everybody started writing for the examination. The competition has become tough in the sense that within that is someone offering more, fresh, maybe in terms of content, knowledge, presentation, structuring, right? But interview I think is more or less same, right? So it was very good. So after coming out of interview, I was very sure that I am going to be selected. So I told everyone. So I remember after fifth class Navodaya entrance exam, my father came to pick me up. How was your exam? I said I'll get selected. So I knew that I had done well in the examination. I thought it will happen here also, but it's okay. It was good, as we all know. Huh? Yeah. Somebody asked me recently, sir, without you, the vibe in insights is, missing. I said I'll recreate that vibe in Parliament. So I've been always ambitious person, right? Never settle for less. You have one life. Can you imagine me going here, totally a new field, new constituency, no political experience, and all political big people, political, heavyweights, and I'm making them nervous. Serious. People are loving me. I don't know. What I'm doing is what I keep telling you people, stick to basics, right? Keep learning from everyone, right? Stay confident in whatever you are doing, have clarity, right? And never expect anything back, just focus one day at a time on the process. I think the formula for success is same for everywhere. It is just like, are you able to take that risk, go extra mile. And very more likely, I'm standing here and saying, but I think it is going to happen.
It is
No, for now, 100% I'm maintaining it, to be honest, because I haven't got into power, and also I've clearly delineated. There is power politics and there is development politics, right? So when you chase development politics and when you choose development politics, I think you can keep your ethics intact, right? So development politics is focused on the people. You stay with the people, in touch with the people, and you connect with the people. And the development, again, it's not your personal money, to get corrupted, and you don't have personal business, to be benefited from the government money, right? So I won't use any government facility to run insights, right? So in fact, I'm so last year I would never give any money to government to buy, this, no, not buy what, to get the tender for SC, ST and other things. So 2 years we never give anything. So third year they cut us off, right? So the tender was done without our notice, and then I said we have big classroom. So then I announced 100% scholarship to 100 SC, ST people, right? Free of cost. So I said my only thinking was, in a classroom, 100 people can be accommodated. They can be split into two. Anyway, there are going to be 30, 40 vacant seats, right? So I'll accommodate them. That is how. So you cannot corrupt me, right? So it is always choice, right? Development politics. So when you were among with the people, so when I started Insights IAS, I didn't come thinking about the money. It was hobby, extension of my hobby. I was doing on the website, let us do in the real world, right? Started doing it, and then money started pouring. I just expanded and started helping more people. Money started pouring in. So it was not chasing money. Even now, when I come here, I will never think about money. How many admissions we have today, I will never ask. How many admissions we should target, we never think about it. There are no meetings at all at Inside Says, not a single meeting. If there is any meeting, only when we crave, for eating pizza or something, I invite everyone to my cabin, we eat, we discuss politics or some gossip and then disperse. Right? That is not an agenda. I hate meetings. Even as PDO, I would skip meetings. Panchayat Development Officer. Don't conduct meetings when we become IAS officers. Just go to places, villages, right? So where you want to get the work done, there meet the real people, right? All these other meetings are totally useless, right? Fake. They bring fake numbers. They give fake details to people who are asking you questions, and then you know that after meeting it is gone. You'll again come back after 1 or 2 months, right? So here, stick with the people. Help people, and then people will give you power. Like in business, you chase excellency. Help customers. They will give you money. Here, am I right? That is the simple rule I am applying here, and that is making people nervous there, right? And I am enjoying it. So also, I was never this confident also. I don't know, some of you might be noticing here. If you look at my previous session, I was able to give speech also yesterday. So last Rajyotsava, I didn't give speech because I was nervous. Last Rajyotsava, I saw a huge crowd and suddenly, that too I had to give in Kannada. My Kannada was not that fluent at that time. Basically purely Kannada medium. I got corrupted after coming to Insight, started speaking English. And then my Kannada got affected. And then when last Rajyotsava, because I was still in the thick of things, all these UPSC things, conducting mock interviews and all. I didn't know Kannada Rajyotsava, if my Kannada goes wrong and all. So I was nervous. So now in 4 months I have spoken so much Kannada, I have, colloquial accent and all. I caught it and I can fluently speak in Kannada endlessly now. And while giving this talk, I remembered I can still speak in English. It is good. Fine. So wish you all the best. And I'm not sure about mock interviews. After the result, I'll start doing mock interview this time, not before the result. Right. So once you get selected, definitely I'll do mock interviews. I'll keep coming to Bangalore 2 days in a week. And during that time, anyway, people are less in Karnataka, so you can do. In Delhi, maybe January, February, I'll be anyway going to Delhi for different purpose. So then I'll use my time to do mock interviews. So mock interviews, I'll continue, but again, not with the scale of, last year what we did. So we'll definitely do. Those who want, we'll do it. Okay. All the best. Thank you so much. Huh? No, you will see me in Parliament taking on all the big names in the industry. What? Acha, yeah, right. No, I'll use Parliament. I'll speak in Parliament. I'll ask tough questions to people there. I'll make them nervous. People who are destroying this nation, I'll make them nervous. The source of my courage is world history. I have seen in world history, all it takes one individual to take decision and taking confidence of the society, take people along with you, and then there is a revolution, right? So I should dream as an aspirant. Now, when I'm speaking here, like 5 months, look at my skin color. It was even bad. Now every night I use moisturizer and other things. My wife wouldn't recognize, when I come back to Bangalore. So, and I've taken a huge risk, in a way that today's politics is dirty. There are going to be negative, implications in a way that personal attacks, IT attacks, and this and that. These things will definitely happen in the coming, but not afraid of anything. Man with a higher purpose and, as I said, mission mode. So the thing is, we have to create a path for someone who is sitting on the fence. Give them courage, right? If one succeeds, I think 100 people will follow, and then if they succeed, another 100 people will follow, and then we can create this whole new process, right? So that is the reason I want to be. Other, no, not for money and not for power at all. These two are very uninteresting to me, right? So that bigger responsibility it gives and bigger opportunity it gives to really help people. I see, like, I'll just share one experience. Recently, urgent, huh? Just one experience. I was distributing these wheelchairs and hearing aids, crutches and walking aids. So for nearly 2,500 people, I did this recently. So among them, around 600 to 700 people got the benefits. So there, a lady without two legs, right? So came crawling there, and she said that I don't have identity card, I don't have any documents to prove I have disability, right? So I want wheelchair. So I said, it is not government office, right? I can see your status in front of me. So instantly I gave that wheelchair. So that is when, I felt more powerful, right? Ability to help someone instantly, right? The same thing can be done by a government servant. He will torture her saying that you don't have ID card, right? Go and bring, medical certificate. And if you don't have ID card, nobody will care in this country, right? So you won't think, okay, how can I get her ID card? Or is there a way that, I can bend certain rules and, without ID card also I can give her the benefit. So, like, she was already, I think, in 50s. The system had made her crawl, in that way for 50 years. And there was another incident, the village name is Madral, I went there. And the wheelchair I had given was being used by a lady, another lady. So the person who was pushing it, it could be done self-driven, but the one who was pushing said, this is Vinay Kumar, MP aspirant, he has given you this. Instantly she started crying. The reason I asked, like, why are you crying and all? She said, for 15 years I was laying on the bed, right? So can you imagine, 15 years she was just laying on the bed doing everything. So never had an opportunity to walk out of her home and, breathe fresh air. The system is very cruel. And all it requires is, small. And when we conducted, this particular event in Davangere, there was so overwhelming response. They said that last 30 years, leave alone government or leave alone MLA or MP, nobody had actually conducted such an event. So I was like, we discussed, right? There is so much wealth, there is so much power. It is just that misplaced priorities. We don't think about these people. We don't care for them. They are totally ignored. They are there visible, but you don't want to do anything for them because that is not your priority, right? What is priority is how to increase my business, how to expand my business, how to choose this ministry or choose this, just to benefit myself. So all of you need to, that is the reason I want, because as a teacher, as a mentor, as a guide, I can just open your eyes once or twice, right? But I believe while being member of parliament, I think I can get things done also by opening your eyes to the reality and what can be done about it. So it's going to be a collaboration, because I understand bureaucracy, I understand the psychology of bureaucrats. I think far better than other politicians or other people, because I'm there in this system for 20 years now, right? As an aspirant and as a mentor and as a person who runs this institution. So give me an opportunity, right? So you should do it. It's not about political. I can choose BJP also, I can choose Congress, I can choose any party. It's not about the political party is just an ideology, right? While being in opposition also, you can do lots of things when you are creative, when you are proactive, when you are priority is more about development. The platform gives you that opportunity. If you should just know how to get things done. MP, Prime Minister is also MP, you are also MP, right? Equal powers, what I believe. It is just like, are you ready for it? Are you resourceful? Are you going to be using this platform? That's it. So I think, so let us see, let us not say big things. So in this UPSC thing, I have done slightly different and I have done, something different. So in politics, want to do the same, more democratization, right? Thank you.